Hey everyone, and welcome to the Convos with Anita Santiago podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a review for the podcast on all the major platforms. You can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Check out the social media pages, Convos with Anita Santiago on Facebook, IG, and AJS1291 on TikTok. Today I want to talk about the subject of pain. Last episode, we had Jesse Johnson with us. And Jesse is like one of those inspirational people that I could listen to his story over and over again and never get tired of it. But I'm not going to spoil that. You got to go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it yet. But I think his situation got me to thinking about the topic of there's purpose in the pain. And you know, pain is a very delicate subject. When people go through tough situations, they lose people close to them, or they are faced with a really bad situation. It's not, it's always easy to say, well, there's purpose in the pain when the pain is not yours. But at the same time, I think there's an encouraging piece here, and we need to encourage people to find purpose in the pain. So let me kind of outline what that means. First of all, when we talk about pain, there's the pain of loss. You lose a relationship, lose a person you love, lose a pet, lose a job. So loss is a very real pain. And sometimes we don't think of it as a pain because we're supposed to just get over it. You go through life and you're just supposed to be able to uh, uh, deal with the situation and move on. But it's not always like that. And with those different types of pain come different experiences. So you lose someone that you care about very much. There's not just the emotional part of losing that person. There's the mental part of now living your life without that person in your life. And then you may even have physical things that go along with losing someone. You're crying, you don't feel like doing much. You may have symptoms of depression. So when you talk about pain, it's not just a feeling, but it can be emotional and it can be physical as well as mental. The other part about pain is that we can't get around experiencing pain in our lives. If you live a while, it's very likely that you're going to experience pain of some type. The thing we have to be careful about is subjectively criticizing people about their pain. Everybody processes their pain differently and everybody experiences their pain differently. So we shouldn't compare how a person is working through their pain compared with how I work through my pain. We just need to give grace and understand that pain is a natural part of life. And it can also be a place where we experience tremendous growth. How is that possible, Anita? How can you experience tremendous growth from pain? Well, it goes back to that saying, if is the glass half empty or is it half full? It's really about perspective and how you view your pain and finding a way to grow and learn through that tough time. So, in essence, what I'm saying is that yes, we all experience pain. Yes, it can be very tough, but also we need to be very clear that pain is sometimes an opportunity for us to grow in ways that we would never grow before. And that's kind of how we find our way through the pain. So before you find purpose in the pain, you have to navigate your way through the pain. You have to have time to grieve. You have to have time to process your feelings. You may need support from family or friends, but as you start to give meaning to this thing you've experienced or this tough situation that you've gone through, that's when you start to find the purpose. That's when you start to ask yourself, what can I get out of this, or what is the lesson? The phrase that I use with myself is, what is the lesson I'm supposed to learn in this situation? And when you start asking questions like that, it really moves you into a different space and helps you see how that pain can be powerful. In the case of my friend Jesse Johnson, he took something that he experienced that was really, really tough, and he turned it into a way to support people in the St. Louis community, and deal head on with the issue of gun violence. So he had to find his way to that point. And if you're experiencing something painful or something tough that you've been through, and I know a lot of us have, is it possible this is an opportunity to learn and grow? So what do I mean? Okay. Sometimes, let's take losing a job, for example. That can be a painful experience, especially when you have people that are depending on you. You have to provide and take care of yourself, and you've lost your job, and it's a really tough situation for you. This might be an opportunity to retool, to change careers, to experience something you've never experienced before, going to a new field. Um, think of ways of moving yourself forward professionally that may not have been available had you still been in that job. So how can you learn and grow um, into something new? And I get it, like using the job as an example is kind of tough, because a lot of people are having difficulty in that area. But is this an opportunity for you to do something totally different? Is this a opportunity for you to explore something new, go down a different path, and find yourself in a better situation than the tough situation that you just came out of? Another type of pain or another tough situation that people can experience is failure. If you have failed at something that was very important to you, let's say you were in in school, high school, college, graduate program, um, of any sort, veterinarian school, design school, engineering school, architect, and somehow, for some reason, it didn't work out. And you're dealing with that pain of failure, dealing with the pain of feeling like this thing that you really wanted to do just didn't work out. Well, is this an opportunity for you to either go back to that thing that you were excited about or wanted to do, or is this an opportunity for you to grow and learn? And when it comes to things like failure and job loss and other tough situations that we go through, a lot of times those situations are the very place where we learn endurance and strength and resilience that pushes us forward. So, you might be a patient person, you might be very resilient, but a tough situation can make you more resilient. A tough situation can teach you new skills in how to navigate tough situations or refine skills that you already have. So the way we learn, grow, and build resilience comes from those tough situations. And especially failure. Failure is a big one I feel like people deal with, but they don't talk about a lot. Finding the meaning in the loss or the pain that you're experiencing is very important. What do I mean by finding meaning? How does this particular painful situation, this particular tough situation, fit into the context of your life? What does it mean? Now, some people will say, if you were in school, for example, like the example I use, you were taking a particular college degree and it didn't work out. some people will say, well, it wasn't meant to be. Well, that's such a general statement. It wasn't meant to be. Um, maybe you were in an architect program, but your passion is really art. And it's not that it wasn't meant for you to be an architect, but that your interests are somewhere else and you just never had a chance to realize that until the tough situation came along. So sometimes as we sit back and we think about what we've experienced, we realize that maybe that wasn't a good fit for us. Maybe that wasn't a good place for us. Maybe the effort that we were putting into this thing was misplaced. Now, that works for situations where there's been a loss or a change of some sort. When it comes to things like health and losing someone that you really care about, um, it's hard for us to understand why those things happen and why it happened to our person that we cared about and why it happened to our family. And it's really hard to find a meaning in losing someone. All I can say to that is that, yes, it's painful. And for everyone out there that's dealing with the loss of someone close to you or someone that you cared about, I'm sending big love and hugs out there to you. But at the same time, what's next? You lost somebody that you love. You lost someone you were close to. What's next? And I think that's how you find meaning. In my therapy work, when I work with people with grief, one of the goals that we have for long-term bereavement is finding the meaning in the change in your life. And that's a very individual and personal experience, but there's a meaning there for you. You just have to be willing to explore and find out what it is, because from that meaning, you have more resilience and you continue to grow, even when you've lost someone and you feel like you cannot go on. And if you want a better context for that, just check out the episode that I did with Jesse, because he talks about the loss that he experienced and how difficult that was for him to move on. And that brings us to the next part of this finding purpose in the pain is, okay, you've understood the pain. You're starting to think about how you can grow and learn from the pain and what this situation or this loss means for you. And now you can start, or we can start working on strategies for overcoming the pain. So you have a painful situation, you have a tough situation, you acknowledge it, you're learning and growing, or finding ways you can learn and grow from it. But how do you get to the next step, which is to overcome the pain? Well, a little earlier, I mentioned that old saying, the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. Sometimes our mindset around pain can be helpful or it can be an obstacle. Sometimes it's how we think about it that we need to refine so that we can move forward. What do I mean? So if you lose a job, let's say you lose a job, that was one of the examples I gave earlier, and you say, um, it's very difficult to find a job. I don't have the skills that I need. I've done 1,000 applications. I'm frustrated. This isn't working. Well, you're telling yourself all the things that are going wrong, and that might be a fact. But is it possible for you to find resources? Is it possible to find your way into something different by talking to people, checking into resources, going to events, connecting with people, putting your putting your skills and yourself out there. And I know that, in a tough job market like today where people are struggling to find work, that can sound like just someone talking on a podcast telling you what to do. But really and truly, if you can change your mindset about things sometimes, that helps you to move forward. When you are seeing it as the glass is half full, you see the opportunities, you see the possibilities, you can see yourself in a better state, then you're going to be more likely to do things and take steps that are going to get you there versus if you're not as positive. Um, when you talk about creating opportunities or creating new possibilities, you have to be able to see that in your mind. Because if you can't see that in your mind, it's hard for you to move forward. So, in the example I used about failure, where you maybe were in a program that didn't, you were in a college program or something, and you didn't get good grades and you quit, and now it's 10 years later and you're considering going back to school again or considering doing something totally different. You have to be able to visualize in your mind that not only will that experience be good for you, but there's going to be a positive outcome on the other end. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for you to take those definitive, affirmative, concrete steps that you need to take to accomplish that goal. You also have to have coping mechanisms. In my therapy work, when I work with people that are grieving, coping mechanisms like relaxation techniques and things that reduce anxiety, getting up, moving, nutrition, and those sorts of things can be very helpful as you're coping with a tough situation. Um, and even therapy. I'm a therapist. I work in mental health. I'm an advocate for therapy. And if you're going through a really tough situation or really painful situation, reach out and get the help that you need. There are a lot of resources out there. And also support system. Uh, this whole idea of rugged individualism, like, I got it. I can do it. It's all, I was trying to think of one of those phrases that we often say, but you need a support system. Quality over quantity. You don't need 55 people, but you need people that can listen. You need people that will help you. You need people that understand. And you need people that are going to pour into you. So as you're navigating this painful situation or this tough situation, you have people around you that say, yeah, I get it. I hear you. I know you're having a tough time, but better days are ahead. Um, I know you're struggling, but we're here for you, and it's not perfect right now, but we've got you. And having a support system is going to really be a comfort, motivational, and maybe even inspirational. Because during those times where you're struggling, the people in your support system, they know you. They know your potential. They know what you're capable of. And if they're a good support system, they're going to remind you of that often. And so even though you're in a very difficult situation, a very tough time, that support system is going to surround you with that positive forward motion energy that you need. So having a support system, again, is very important. So in this whole concept of purpose in your pain, um, if you are dealing with something, that's been painful or that's been tough, what's the purpose? What is the purpose in your pain? And that's a question that you may have to sit and marinate on. Purpose in your pain means that that pain is not in vain. You're not experiencing it just to be experiencing it. And it takes a little bit of concentration. It's probably not the right word. It takes a little bit of thoughtfulness. I like to use the visual of marinating in a crock pot. You might have to marinate on it, but 9 times out of 10, there's a purpose in the pain or the tough situation that you're experiencing. And when you tap into that purpose and you take that pain that you're feeling, you take that pain that you're experiencing, and you transform it into purpose, amazing things happen. And there are so many inspirational stories of parents who have lost children and started a foundation and have changed the trajectory of what we know about certain illnesses or certain experiences. There are people that have lost everything and made a tremendous comeback, either financially or emotionally. And we hear those stories and we go, wow, like I can't believe they made it through that. And I don't know if that was me, if I could make it. There are so many examples of this principle all around us. So, as I was thinking about my next topic, for the next episode, it's like, what would it look like if people who were experiencing pain, people who were going through tough times, took those experiences and transformed them into a purpose that either helped themselves, helped their family, helped their community, helped their friends? What would that look like if we were more intentional about taking these types of experiences and turning them into something that really, really has an impact? With the gun violence here that we see all the time, there are so many nonprofits and people who have taken their experiences and turned them into tremendous organizations that are helpful in the community. There are people who have experienced illness and all kind of health issues, recovered and been an advocate for others dealing with those issues. So this is your encouragement. We know that people struggle and we know that it's hard, but it doesn't have to always be that way. I encourage you to take a moment, step back, and reflect and ask yourself, what is my purpose? What is the purpose in this pain? And you may even surprise yourself with the answer. If you know someone that's struggling, going through tough time, tough situation, become part of their support system. And maybe they can do the same for you. We have to help each other out, but we also have to believe that there's something better on the other side. So I want to thank you all for dropping by the Convos with Anita Santiago podcast. Thanks for coming back every couple of weeks and checking out the episodes. Please, please, please support on all the platforms by liking, sharing, and leaving a review. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at convoscws@gmail.com. That's convos@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in and happy listening.